What happens when a legendary music icon walks onto a talk show expecting respect but gets ambushed with disrespect instead? In just 36 seconds, one host's entitled attitude destroyed what should have been a celebration and turned it into television's most shocking meltdown. Make sure you subscribe right now because we're pulling back the curtain on Hollywood's dark side, exposing entitled celebrities and their shocking behavior the cameras never showed you. We've got the raw footage they don't want you to see, and you won't want to miss a single reveal. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think about this outrageous behavior. So let me set the scene for you. Chaka walks onto the set of the Tamron Hall show. This is a woman who has given us decades of incredible music. She's won 10 Grammy Awards. She's a legend, an absolute icon. And she's coming on this show to talk about her life, her career, her new projects. She deserves respect. She deserves to be honored. But that's not what she got. From the very beginning, something feels off. Tamron Hall comes out with this big smile. All the cameras are rolling. The audience is clapping. But there's this energy in the air. You can feel it. Chaka sits down in her chair, and she's wearing this beautiful outfit, looking absolutely stunning as always. The Queen of Funk herself. And Tamron starts the interview. Now, normally when you have a legend on your show, you start with respect. You talk about their achievements. You celebrate them. But Tamron, she goes in a completely different direction. She starts with this question that just feels wrong. Tamron says, "So, Chaka, let's talk about your past struggles. You've had problems with substances. You've had issues with money management. You've been in the tabloids for all sorts of drama. How does it feel knowing that's what people remember about you? Can you believe that? This is how you start an interview with a legend?" Chaka's face changes immediately. You can see it. The smile fades. Her eyes narrow just a little bit. But she's a professional. She's been in this industry for over 50 years. She knows how to handle herself. So she takes a breath and she responds. Chaka says, "Well, first of all, I don't think that's what people remember about me. People remember my music. They remember songs like I'm Every Woman, Ain't Nobody, Through the Fire. They remember the joy I've brought into their lives. As for my personal struggles, yes, I've been through things. We all have. But I overcame them. I'm still here. I'm still making music. I'm still living my life. And I'd appreciate it if we could focus on the positive." That's a perfect response, right? Gracious but firm, setting boundaries. Any decent host would take that hint and move on to better questions. But not Tamron Hall. Oh no, she doubles down. Tamron leans forward with this look on her face, like she's about to drop some big revelation. And she says, "But Chaka, let's be real here. Your career peaked in the 80s. Most of the younger generation doesn't even know who you are. Don't you think you're holding on to past glory? Don't you think it's time to accept that your moment is past?" The audience gasps. You can hear it. People in the studio cannot believe what they just heard. And Chaka, she sits up straighter in her chair. Her whole body language changes. This is no longer a friendly interview. This is an attack. And Chaka Khan did not become a legend by backing down from anything. Chaka says, very slowly, very deliberately, "Excuse me? Did you really just say that to me? Do you understand who you're talking to? I have influenced generations of artists. People like Beyonce, Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey, they all cite me as an inspiration. My music is timeless. It doesn't matter if some kids today don't know me. Real music lovers know. Real musicians know. And frankly, the fact that you would invite me onto your show just to disrespect me like this says a lot more about you than it does about me." The audience starts clapping. They're on Chaka's side. Everyone watching can see what's happening here. This host is being completely out of line. But does Tamron apologize? Does she try to fix this and steer the interview back on track? No. She gets defensive. She gets nasty. Tamron says, with this attitude in her voice, "Oh, so now I'm the bad guy for asking real questions? This is my show, Chaka. I ask what I want to ask. If you can't handle tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. Maybe you should just stay home and live off your old royalties." Now the audience is actually booing. They're booing the host of the show. That's how bad this has gotten. And Chaka just stares at her. Just stares. You can see the disbelief on her face. She cannot believe this is actually happening. She came here as a guest, to promote her work, to connect with fans, and she's being treated like this? Chaka stands up. She's not yelling yet, but her voice is strong and clear when she says, "Let me tell you something, Tamron. I have been in this business since before you were born. I have earned my place. I have earned my respect. And I will not sit here and let some talk show host who's barely been on television for a few years tell me about my career. Who do you think you are? Tamron stands up too. Now they're both standing. The cameras are still rolling. The producers are probably freaking out backstage. This is live television, and it's going completely off the rails. And Tamron, instead of trying to calm things down, instead of being professional, she fires back. Tamron says, "Who do I think I am? I'm the person with the show, Chaka. I'm the one people tune in to watch every day. You're just a guest. And honestly, you're proving exactly what I thought about you. You're difficult. You're temperamental. This is probably why you don't get invited to many shows anymore." That's it. That's the line that breaks everything. Chaka takes off her microphone, just rips it right off and drops it on the chair. The whole audience is in shock. Some people are standing up. Everyone is recording on their phones. This is about to become the most viral television moment of the year. Chaka points her finger at Tamron and says, in a voice that's shaking with anger, "You want to know why I don't do many shows? Because of people like you. Entitled, disrespectful people who think having a television show gives them the right to tear down legends. You invited me here under false pretenses. You said this would be a celebration of my career. Instead, you ambushed me. You attacked me. You insulted me. And you did it all with a smile on your face like you thought you were being clever." Tamron crosses her arms and says, "Oh, please, stop being so dramatic. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't handle any criticism. You think everyone should just bow down to you because you had some hits 40 years ago." The audience is in complete uproar now. People are shouting. Some are defending Chaka, telling Tamron to apologize. Others are just shocked into silence. The producers are definitely trying to cut to commercial, but nobody's listening to them anymore. This confrontation is happening, and it's happening right now. Chaka takes a step closer. She's not threatening, but she's powerful. Her presence fills the entire stage. And she says, "Criticism? You think that's what this was? No. Criticism is constructive. What you did was cruel. What you did was try to humiliate a guest on your show to make yourself look good, to create drama, to get ratings. Well, congratulations, Tamron. You got your drama, but you also showed everyone watching exactly what kind of person you are." Tamron's face is getting red now. She's losing control of the situation, and she knows it. She says, "Get off my stage. If you can't handle a real interview, then leave. Nobody's forcing you to stay here." Chaka laughs, actually laughs, but it's not a happy laugh. It's a laugh of pure disbelief. She says, "Oh, I'm leaving. Don't worry about that. But before I go, let me say something to everyone watching at home. Don't let anyone treat you the way this woman just treated me. I don't care if they have a show. I don't care if they have power. I don't care if they smile while they're doing it. Disrespect is disrespect, and you don't have to accept it. Not from anyone." She turns to walk off the stage. The audience is giving her a standing ovation. They're clapping and cheering for Chaka as she walks away. Some people are even chanting her name. And Tamron is just standing there, looking absolutely furious, because this did not go the way she planned at all. But Chaka's not done. She stops at the edge of the stage, turns back around, and says one more thing. "You know what the saddest part is? I actually admired you. I thought you were different from other talk show hosts. I thought you had integrity. But you're just like all the rest. You're willing to hurt people for a headline? Well, you got your headline. I hope it was worth it." And then she walks off. Just like that. The queen has left the building. The cameras don't know where to point. Do they follow Chaka? Do they stay on Tamron? The audience is in chaos. People are talking, filming, reacting. This is the most dramatic thing that's ever happened on this show. Tamron tries to regain control. She sits back down, smooths her hair, tries to put that professional smile back on her face. She says to the camera, "Well, that was unexpected. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back." But nobody cares about what happens after the break. The damage is done. The clip is already spreading online. People are taking Chaka's side. They're calling out Tamron for her behavior. They're saying she was disrespectful, unprofessional, and completely out of line. And they're right. Let's break down what actually happened here, because this is important. Chaka Khan came onto that show in good faith. She's a legend who has given the world incredible music for decades. She deserved to be treated with respect. She deserved to be celebrated. Instead, Tamron Hall used her as a prop for drama. She asked disrespectful questions. She made insulting comments. And when Chaka defended herself, Tamron got even worse. Think about the things Tamron said. She implied that Chaka's career was over. She said the younger generation doesn't know her. She called her difficult and temperamental. She told her to leave the stage. Every single one of those comments was designed to belittle and humiliate. That's not journalism. That's not even entertainment. That's just cruelty. And the way Chaka handled it? Absolutely perfect. She didn't stoop to Tamron's level. She didn't curse or throw things or lose her dignity. She stood up for herself with grace and power. She called out the behavior for what it was. She refused to be disrespected. And then she walked away on her own terms. That's how a real legend handles things. The worst part is that Tamron had every opportunity to make this right. After that first response from Chaka, she could have apologized. She could have said, "You're right. Let's talk about your amazing music." She could have turned the interview around, but instead, she chose to escalate. She chose to attack. She chose her ego over professionalism. And that comment about Chaka being just a guest, that tells you everything you need to know about Tamron's mindset. She sees guests as beneath her. As people she can control and manipulate for her show. She doesn't see them as human beings deserving of respect. She sees them as content, as ratings, as tools to make herself look good. But here's what Tamron didn't count on. Chaka Khan has been a star longer than Tamron has been alive. She's dealt with real challenges, real adversity, real struggles in an industry that wasn't always kind to black women. She's not going to be pushed around by someone who's been hosting a daytime talk show for a few years. She's been through too much. She's accomplished too much. She knows her worth. When Chaka said, "I've been in this business since before you were born," that wasn't arrogance. That was fact. That was a reminder that respect is earned, not given just because you happen to have a television show at the moment. And when she said, "Who do you think you are?" she was asking a legitimate question. What gives Tamron Hall the right to speak to a legendary artist that way? The audience reaction tells you everything. They were on Chaka's side from the moment things went wrong. They gasped when Tamron made those first insulting comments. They clapped when Chaka stood up for herself. They booed the host of the show. Think about that. The audience turned on the host of the show because her behavior was so obviously wrong. And when Chaka gave that final speech about not accepting disrespect, the standing ovation she got, that was genuine. Those people weren't clapping because they were told to. They were clapping because they witnessed something powerful. They saw someone refuse to be diminished. They saw dignity in action. They saw a real person standing up to someone who thought their position gave them power over others. Let's talk about what Tamron said about Chaka being dramatic. That's a classic manipulation tactic. When someone stands up for themselves, when they refuse to accept poor treatment, the person in power calls them dramatic, calls them difficult, calls them temperamental. It's a way of dismissing legitimate concerns. It's a way of making the victim look like the problem. But anyone watching that interview could see who the real problem was. Chaka's point about being ambushed is crucial too. She said she was told this would be a celebration of her career. That means the producers, the bookers, whoever reached out to her, they lied. They got her on the show under false pretenses. They knew what questions Tamron was going to ask. They knew this was going to be confrontational, but they didn't tell Chaka. They tricked her into coming on so they could create drama. That's not just disrespectful, that's deceptive. And when Tamron said Chaka should just stay home and live off your old royalties, that was such a telling comment. It showed jealousy. It showed resentment. Here's someone who has built a legacy, who has created art that will outlive all of us. And Tamron tried to reduce it to old royalties. Like Chaka's achievements don't matter. Like her contributions to music don't count anymore. That's not just insulting to Chaka, it's insulting to every artist who has ever created something meaningful. The comment about Chaka not getting invited to many shows anymore was particularly nasty because it was meant to make her feel unwanted, unwelcome, past her prime. But Chaka flipped it beautifully by explaining that she doesn't do many shows because of hosts like Tamron. That's not a weakness, that's a choice. That's setting boundaries and protecting herself from toxic situations. And clearly, her instincts about avoiding certain shows were absolutely right. When Chaka said, "You're willing to hurt people for a headline," she exposed the entire machine of modern talk shows. So many hosts now care more about viral moments than actual conversation. They care more about clicks than connection. They'll sacrifice a guest's dignity for a trending topic. And Tamron proved Chaka's point perfectly. She chose drama over decency. She chose conflict over class. She chose ratings over respect. Think about the phrase Chaka used. You smiled while you were doing it. That's chilling. That's someone who hides cruelty behind a friendly face. That's someone who thinks if they smile, they can say anything. That's someone who believes charm excuses harm. But it doesn't. What you say matters. How you treat people matters. And no amount of smiling changes that. The fact that Chaka specifically mentioned she admired Tamron makes this even sadder. She went into that interview with positive feelings. She thought this would be a good experience. She thought she was going to have a real conversation with someone she respected. Instead, she got betrayed. She got attacked. She got disrespected in front of millions of people. That kind of disappointment cuts deep. And Tamron's response to all of this? Trying to act like nothing major happened. Trying to smooth it over with a "we'll be right back after the break." Like she could just move on and pretend she didn't just destroy any goodwill her show had. Like she didn't just reveal her true character on live television. That's not accountability. That's avoidance. Here's what this moment really shows us. Power without character is dangerous. Tamron Hall has a platform. She has a show. She has influence. But she doesn't have the character to use that platform responsibly. She doesn't have the wisdom to treat her guests with dignity. She doesn't have the integrity to admit when she's wrong. And that makes her exactly the kind of person who shouldn't have a platform at all. Meanwhile, Chaka Khan, who's been a legend for 50 years, who's won 10 Grammys, who's influenced countless artists, she showed more grace and strength in those few minutes than most people show in a lifetime. She defended herself without being cruel. She was firm without being mean. She called out bad behavior without attacking the person. That's real power. That's real class. The standing ovation she received wasn't just people clapping for a celebrity. It was people recognizing truth. It was people witnessing someone stand up to a bully. It was people seeing dignity, defeat, entitlement. Every single person in that audience knew they had just watched something significant. They knew they had witnessed a moment where right defeated wrong, where integrity defeated ego, where a legend reminded everyone why she's a legend. So let's be clear about who the good person was in this situation. It wasn't the host with the smile in the talk show. It was the guest who refused to be disrespected. It was Chaka Khan. It was the woman who has spent decades creating beautiful music, influencing generations, and maintaining her dignity through every challenge. She's the hero of this story. She's the one who stood up when standing up was hard. She's the one who spoke truth when truth needed to be spoken. And Tamron Hall? She showed us exactly who she is. Someone willing to hurt a legend for drama. Someone who thinks her platform gives her the right to tear people down. Someone who smiles while stabbing you in the back. Someone who values headlines over humanity. That's not a host. That's not a journalist. That's certainly not someone worthy of the platform she has. This interview should be taught in every broadcasting school as an example of what not to do. It should be shown to every aspiring host as a warning about letting ego override professionalism. It should be remembered as the day a legend walked off a stage with her head held high while a host was left looking small, petty, and cruel. What makes you think about all of this? Was Tamron out of line? Did she cross boundaries that should never be crossed? Or do you think tough questions have a place in interviews? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about respect, about interviews, about how we treat legends. Because this conversation matters. This moment matters. And Chaka Khan deserves to have her side heard and celebrated. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, because we're not afraid to call out entitled behavior in Hollywood. We're not afraid to show you the moments they wish you'd forget. We're not afraid to stand with the people who deserve respect and call out those who abuse their power. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's keep having these important conversations together.